We're gonna ride up this, and that'll put us right on the west end of Eaton.
It'd be interesting to see what is built there.
Ready?
Ready to go.
Okay. We're here to look at how to make things safer, but we're also here to talk about how you might radically reimagine what dwelling in these hills should look like. Not looking forward to going out there at all. As analysts, as we're looking for clues, and we're looking to tell the story to other people so they can understand what are the things I can do. The little details are what take your house out.
The Eaton fire was unique because the fire immediately came out of the chaparral right into the urban core. I mean, it was a really short duration and immediately became urban firestorm, where the dominant fire spread from that point on was structure to structure.
People forget that the Eaton fire was also accompanied by an extremely damaging windstorm, which further complicated firefighting efforts.
When you have a fire transition into an urban environment, especially an urban environment where the structures, may not be built to our new modern wildland urban interface codes that give you some mitigation to the vulnerabilities from those fires. What ends up happening is you start to get structure-to-structure ignition, which produces a lot of embers. And so it ends up starting other fires, and it's a super challenge for the firefighters because it's like almost playing whack-a-mole.
It's a man and a woman trying to save their home further down the street. What's that? They're on, I don't know, but it's a couple houses down. There's embers flying on. They're on the roof trying to get it.
I can't think of a fire that I've been on or heard of that was so abrupt and spreading immediately into the urban core. And the destruction, not only was visually devastating, but you really feel for the people.
We know how to mitigate some of these things, build back better, or retrofit existing homes in order to be able to withstand the hazard that's around them. The biggest challenge is getting people to understand the hazard that they're in, making it easy for them to understand what they need to do to fix those vulnerabilities, and then actually do it.
The social relationship with fire has changed in that in the last decade, we've had these massive catastrophes, and there's a lot more collective trauma around fire than it was even a decade ago.
California has had a long history of wildland fires impacting communities.
Everything over there on that ridge burned in the station fire. What year was that? 2007?
2010?
2010.
This place probably had a lot of thick brush, really tall, really dense, and you can see how intensely the fire burned through here. I mean, there's a lot of signs over there of a lot of the brush burning all the way down to the stobs. So it was fire was burning really intensely through here. The weather conditions we've been dealing with definitely have changed. I've seen fires over the last 15 to 20 years that are definitely burning more vigorously, not burning like I saw them burn when I first started in 1989.
The climate is warming and drying. I'm absolutely certain that is happening, and whether it's a cyclical thing or whether it's a one-way trip, I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out probably after I'm dead, but there's something going on.
Subtle changes in the climate can express themselves in major ways in the fire environment. That's expressed itself in things like if it's 4 degrees warmer at night, the fire doesn't lay down and you don't get a chance to do direct attack. And when I started my career, direct attack at night was how big fires got put out. And now fires can crown through the night. The terrain, brush, and winds, they all work together to funnel the fire down into Altadena. And none of these things are ever going to go away. The Santa Ana winds here are as reliable as the tides, and the brush never stops growing. Another fire here is a certainty. We need to plan on it happening. The truth is uncomfortable. The truth is not good news. We're in a position where we can tell people the truth about our experience and what we think should happen. Modern building codes can help reduce some of the hazards of living here, but redeveloping the entire property with fire in mind is also very important. We're here to look at how to make things safer, but we're also here to talk about how you might radically reimagine what dwelling in these hills should look like.
I mean, that's the whole point of this, is just not letting history repeat itself.
Over and over and over.
And right now is a really good time. There's all these other communities that haven't had something like this happen. And so by getting the word out, you know, if they're getting up towards, you know, that hazard's getting really high again in their community, it's a good time to start programs to reduce the possibility of a catastrophic event like this.
Oh!
I hope we didn't work you too hard today, fellas.
We rode a long ways.
Seems like we came a long way, yeah.
As our tour continues towards the coast, I want to dig deeper into one of the root causes of LA's critical wildfire problems, a lack of land use planning. For that, we're going to take a different kind of celebrity tour and look at the wildfire hazards of the rich and famous. Beverly Hills, California. Harrison Rain.
Hey, you doing, Zeke? Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, coming on up. Yeah, for sure.
Harrison Rain worked for me making maps on wildfires while he was getting dual master's degrees in landscape architecture and urban planning at UC Berkeley. Before that, he was a hotshot firefighter working all over the West Coast. Now he's a wildfire researcher at NASA. You want to tag along with us today?
That'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Historically, there's a fire that burned through Bel Air in the 60s, but there's no sign of that now. It's as if it never happened. Nobody has taken into consideration any of the lessons that we've learned in the last 30 or 40 years. There's cypresses, there's pine trees, there's palm trees everywhere. That is another disaster waiting to happen, absolutely.
Rolling through Bel Air with Harrison Rain, Tim Chavez, Denny O'Neill. Looking at wackadoodle landscaping, crazy hazards, some of the most dangerous fire hazard in the world and some of the most expensive real estate overlapping in one place. It's crazy. You might not think that all this green vegetation would be a fire hazard, but when you look inside most of these hedges, they're full of 50 or 60 years worth of dead material. I don't know how many people realize that their landscaping might be even more flammable than a chaparral in what we consider to be the wildlands.
Just right up the road here is Newhall Pass,
Uh-huh.
and everything funnels through Newhall and spreads out when it gets to the bottom. The air pours down this in the evenings.
One of the factors that drove the Palisades fire down into the community was that the Santa Ana winds, originating in the desert and blowing to the coast, were funneled directly towards the coast by deep canyons that run directly towards the coast. These funneled the winds and blew the fire right down into the community. One thing we wanted to look at as we went to Bel Air was to see how similar the topography was in the Bel Air area to the area which had just burned in Palisades. We found it is even worse in Bel Air, where homes have been packed everywhere possible in these canyons. Often these homes are in perfect alignment with the winds, and so when the inevitable Santa Ana wind-driven fire arrives, it'll burn from house to house. The topography will funnel the winds over the top of the divide and down through the neighborhoods. Even homes on the ridges are aligned with the prevailing winds. What this means is that structures are located with very little space between them. And once a fire is established in the homes, just as in Palisades, the homes will become the major fuel for the fire.
That was interesting.
The vegetation's like a character on this landscape.
It's a part of the landscape, like these privacy walls.
Uh-huh.
How do they get that shrubs to do that?
What strikes me being in LA and being in these affluent neighborhoods is the amount of work that's gone into manicuring these landscapes. For me, it's this realization that the amount of investment that people make in their landscaping is enormous financially and creatively. Indoor-outdoor living is the California dream. So if you tell someone they need to cut the hedge that creates the wall of their living room, basically you're asking them, to do surgery on their house. Landscaping and architecture are kind of inextricably linked in the California psyche. Bel Air is an interesting mix of kind of funky old housing that's packed into the canyons, coupled with enormous mansions that are kind of hacked into other places. But the access was terrible.
Do you physically have kind of a reaction to being in a place like this?
Claustrophobia, I believe they call it. You imagine bringing a Type 1 strike team up a road like this with 5 big engines, plus the wires. Park underneath those wires. They're gonna come down.
Yeah.
People need to have realistic expectations of what firefighters can accomplish with such difficult access. A lot of these places, you couldn't even drive a fire engine up there if it wasn't on fire. So once it's on fire and firefighters have to think about how they're going to evacuate themselves, it becomes almost undefendable.
Dead end, private road.
Well, yeah, in the 50s and 60s, LA got really big into building along these ridges because they had the pylon technology. And they weren't really thinking about earthquakes when they did it, or debris flows or anything like that, but it unlocked so much more development, and that you saw the whole development of this like foothill typology in LA. And the foothills are like the riskiest and like obviously where the most expensive houses are.
Bel Air was a good place to kind of try to put together a lot of the pieces of what we've been seeing. That continuity between landscaping and architecture, the difficult access. There's so many dead-end roads. There's so many places that you have to drive around all sorts of obstacles to get up to the top. There's so many places where you can't drive out at the top, or there's gates for private communities. Some of the neighborhoods that we saw on this transect are hopeless. No amount of money or modification can make up for an urban design that never considered wildfire. However, in our next episode, we're going to take a look at our vacation rental in great detail and work with the homeowners to help them understand what they can do to take some of the power back and make their home more wildfire resistant.
Fire itself is not the enemy. It's the unmanaged fuels, overgrown vegetation, dead brush, and densely packed trees that can turn a spark into a disaster. We've spent a century suppressing fire everywhere. Now we need to work with it. BurnBot is pioneering a smarter approach to fuels treatment, one that is ecological, efficient, and enduring. Combining robotics, automation, and advanced data mapping, our skilled technicians seamlessly deploy precision mastication and precision fire solutions, adapting to each landscape through a systematic, tech-enabled approach. Our technology is built for the real world, able to operate on steep slopes, in tight spaces, and across sensitive grounds unfit for human crews. We believe that technology, when applied with intention and combined with boots-on-the-ground expertise, can deliver uncompromising fuel treatment results that minimizes ground disturbance, preserves biodiversity, and adapts to the unique needs of each landscape. In Southern California, our RX machines perform low-intensity prescribed burns with precision, integrating satellite data, weather models, and real-time fuels analytics. They reduce fuel loads while protecting air quality, thanks to controlled ignition systems and smokeless combustion technology that addresses public health and liability concerns. Our remote mastication solutions deliver tailored mechanical treatments, reducing dense fuels without harming surrounding vegetation and structures. Whether you are an agency, a land manager, a property owner, or a community organization, we see ourselves as your force multiplier. BurnBot treatments protect critical infrastructures, safeguard sensitive habitats, enable safer conditions for first responders, and helps communities meet evacuation, defensible space, and insurance requirements. Every acre we treat is one more step toward a wildfire resilient future.